Greetings, chess friends. We are going to see today the most unfair situation there is in all of chess. 4 points ahead in material. One player still cannot win. The lone king rejoicing that they've saved the game. Let's jump into our first example. You've been told trade when you're ahead. Everybody knows, just trade the pieces. Things are easy with less pieces. Capture, capture, big smile on your face. My king's coming in. And okay, why isn't this guy just resigning? We are up a bishop, we're up a pawn. Just resign, buddy. This is over. Don't you know how to play chess? Here, and the black king just confidently playing on. Eventually, check. Oh, wait, I need to be alert here. There could be a stalemate. Okay, let me rewind. What if I just push the pawn here? Oh, wait a minute. There's a lot of problems with the stalemate here. In fact, this game, bishop and pawn ahead is a draw. Fantastic, bizarre, peculiar things happen in the endgame, and especially in the presence of rook pawns. Now, there are two, let's say 3 really important things that we need for this to occur. How can you actually apply this knowledge? First, has to be a rook pawn. An A or an H, same if you're the black pieces, A or H has to be a rook pawn. Let's use the H pawn as in this example. The final square is a dark square. If you have the bishop which does not cover that corner square. So for example, here white has a rook pawn, and white does not have the bishop to guard the corner. This becomes a draw as long as the black king can get to the corner. If the black king's over here, just push the pawn, easy win. But if the black king can get to that corner, and you don't have the bishop to get it out of that corner, you're going to run into a whole bunch of stalemate problems. If this had been on the other side of the board and white was covering the queening square, then white would be winning, even though it's a rook pawn. Okay, let's see some real examples here. This one comes from the World Championship match. 1978, a tense battle between rivals, Korchnoi and Karpov. Much has been written about this match, of course, but here a fascinating game. We pick up the game on move 119, an enormous number of moves for any chess game. And we see Karpov with black holding on tight. Here, Korchnoi plays bishop back, and this had been going on for a while. But I really want to point out, why not just backtrack your king and go take the pawn? What is really white's issue here? If you were to play king e6 and go for the pawn, actually black says that's fine. I'll just go for the corner. It's only the king that can take this pawn. The bishop is on the wrong color, so only the king can take it. If the king ever does, then the black king is free to get to the corner. So you see actually that the majority of the last moves really were trying to keep this king at bay, counting it off. Can we take this pawn and get back in time to stop the king from getting to the corner? Really, there was no way. Karpov, black in this game, a legend of endgames and positional play and knowledge. And the game actually had a very ironic finish, was here, an intentional stalemate. It was going to be a draw either way, but Korchnoi having a little fun, tying his opponent in knots, but of course this is just a stalemate. Okay, very well, at least the players are enjoying themselves. That game ended on move 124. Epic match if you want to go back and look. Okay, here are some lesser known players. Black is about to make a queen, looks like a winning advantage. King d3, new queen, and you have to give up the bishop. But again, rook pawn. and the wrong color bishop. Seems unfair. Black has outplayed white. This just doesn't seem like justice in chess. For example, bishop takes the pawn, and all we have to do is head right for the corner square. Easy enough, and white draws. So the game goes on a tad here. Black doesn't take the pawn straight away and is hoping for some sort of Zugzwang type miracle where they have to push the pawn perhaps. But it ends right here. King f2. Notice the king for white is stalemated if we just get rid of the pawn, which he does very easily. H takes g6 was the game, and stalemate. But there was no way, actually. There was no way. This is just a draw. And again, if black had even just taken the pawn, we just get to the corner and stay there. Don't go far from that corner. Stay always in the corner or one square sideways on g1 and h1, and you're just going to make a stalemate or a draw eventually. Here, a really nice example. Again, you see the rook pawn for white with the bishop that does not cover the queening square. Could just be a draw here, but this peculiar situation, white is able to win. Definitely a fun one if you want to test your chess knowledge. This comes from the Chess Olympics, and not top grandmasters, but a nice example. You can find this also in the Endgame Manual, Dvoretsky's Endgame Manual. Bishop g4, the only sensible move. But the concept is nice. If you saw h5 and thought maybe move the bishop away, well, let's just look at that, for example. Then just pushing the pawn trades away the last pawn, and this is certainly going to be a draw. But the brilliant move played in the game was king f5. King f5 sets up a wonderful mutual Zugzwang position. Of course, you can move your king, and we just start taking the g5 pawn first. But the best variation, at least most entertaining, is pawn takes g4, pawn takes g4, and black can only move their king down. Let's see one final puzzle, and this one black to move. Black has no pawns, the white pawns are going up, and black to move and draw. Of course, draw, we only have a bishop. Work this one out, but I want to tell a brief story. I had, let's say, roughly 5 years ago, 2018, let's call it. The engines that I had were not solving this puzzle. They were just giving some eval like +2. White has 2 extra pawns, so of course we're winning. And even after the solution move, it would still take the engines a while. So funny, the computers could not calculate all of this, whereas humans, we have a little device that just tells us, rook pawn, wrong color bishop, we know it's a draw. If you've worked that out and been paying attention, you've probably found already the answer. Bishop a3. A fantastic move. I really like this one. So strange to our eyes. Let's look at the easy stuff. If pawn takes, we have 2 rook pawns. Doesn't matter if there's 2 or 3 or 4. As long as the king gets to the corner, there's really nothing to be said here. The white king can get all the way up there, the pawns can get all the way there, but they're just not making any progress. You cannot get the king out of the corner, and therefore the game will end in a draw. Any other move, for example, king c2, then black just sacrifices for that pawn and leaves only the rook pawn left. For example, king takes, and we just start strolling towards that corner square that we know is a draw. So really a nice one. Bishop a3, give that one to your friends, see if they know this concept. Again, the most unfair situation in chess. You're certainly saying that if you have the extra piece and pawn, but one to be aware of.